Hello everyone. Good morning to all. I am Ankita Bhagat, your science teacher from Sajanand English Medium School at Nathej. So students, in our previous session, part 1, we were discussed about clinical thermometer. And you know about the range of clinical thermometer is minus 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, right? So the range of clinical thermometer is minus 35 degree to 42 degrees Celsius. And you know very well the clinical thermometer is used for measure the body temperature of human body. It is used to measure the temperature of human bodies. And you do not use the clinical thermometer for measuring the temperature of any objects. You do not use the clinical thermometer for measuring the temperature of any other objects. But here one more question arises. How do we measure the temperature of other object? So for that the laboratory thermometer is used. So if you want to measure the temperature of other objects, at that time the laboratory thermometer is used, which is mostly used in laboratory to measure the common object, right? If I talk about the range of laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. If I talk about the range of laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. But if you remember, the range of clinical thermometer is 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Right? So here given also. So the range of clinical thermometer is 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. But here the range of clinical laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110. Why it is? Because in laboratory there are so many chemical reactions takes place. In laboratory there are so many chemical reaction takes place and the reaction occurs from very low temperature to high temperature. That's why we need the laboratory thermometer, and the range of the laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. It is important for your MCQ question. Remember it. Right? And one more important thing, when you use laboratory thermometer, at that time ensure that the thermometer is in the contact with the substance whose temperature is being read. Why? Because in the laboratory thermometer the kink is not present. But in clinical thermometer the kink is present. That's why you get the accurate temperature. But in laboratory thermometer the kink is not present. And if you take out the thermometer without taking reading, you cannot get the accurate result. So that's why when you use laboratory thermometer, ensure that the thermometer is the contact with the substance whose temperature is being read. Right? Now here one more question is that how can we read the laboratory thermometer? Right? Let us discuss. So first dip the thermometer in water so that bulb is immersed in water but does not touch the bottom or the sides of container. So ensure that when you dip the thermometer in the beaker, in the container, to ensure that the thermometer do not touch the bottom or the sides, because you want to take the temperature of liquid, not a container, right? So that's why when you immerse in water, ensure that the thermometer do not touch on the bottom or the sides of container, right? And always hold the thermometer vertically. Got it? So this way you can take the reading. And one more important thing, while you take the temperature, at that time the thermometer is in the contact with substance whose temperature you being read, right? So that's way you get the accurate result. You get the accurate temperature. So students, here some precautions is given to you. Here some precautions is given to you, that is, should not be kept upright and not tilted. The laboratory thermometer should be kept upright, not tilted. So while you take a reading, at that time the thermometer kept upright, not tilted. Bulb should be surrounded from all sides by the substance with the temperature is to be measured. So ensure that the thermometer does not touch the bottom or the sides of thermometer, because we want to take the temperature of liquid, not a container, right? And take the reading while thermometer is still in the touch with the substance whose temperature is being read. Got it? Now the next we have, that is, do not hold the thermometer by its bulb. In clinical thermometer is also, do not hold the thermometer by its bulb and handle the thermometer carefully. So these are the precautions of laboratory thermometer, right? Now the next we have, that is, here the digital thermometer is given to you, right? So in thermometer, the mercury, the substance mercury is used. So the mercury is toxic substance. If it is break, it is very difficult to dispose. And the mercury is a very toxic substance. It is harmful for us, right? So that's why nowadays digital thermometer is available in market, which do not use mercury, and it is safe to use. And here the temperature display. The temperature is displayed here. Okay. So the digital thermometer is very safe to use. Now let us discuss the difference between clinical thermometer and laboratory thermometer. The range of clinical thermometer is 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, whereas the range of laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius, right? And the clinical thermometer is used to measure the body temperature, while the laboratory thermometer is used to measure the temperature of common object, and it is mostly used in laboratories, right? Now in clinical thermometer, it has a kink to prevent the backflow of mercury, but in laboratory thermometer it does not has a kink, right? So these are the difference between clinical thermometer and the laboratory thermometer. Now the next topic we have transfer of heat. This transfer of heat. So I think you observe at your home that your mother cooking on a frying pan, at that time your mother always touch the handle of frying pan. They always cooking that touches the handle of frying pan, and she never touch the body of frying pan. Why? Because the handle of frying pan is made up of plastic material. In that the heat cannot transfer. But the body of frying pan made up of metallic material. So heat can easily transfer to the body of frying pan. And that's why your mother always touches the handle of frying pan. Right? And the heat always transfer to hotter object to colder object. So heat always transfer from hot object to cold object. Right? And the object which has a more heat, that flows the heat, the object which has less heat. The object which has a more heat, that flows the heat to the less heat object. Right. But here one more question arises. The heat transfer continuously to one object to another object. The question arises, is the heat transfer continuously to one object to another object? Answer is no. So when it stops? So when both the object will reach at the same temperature, the transfer of heat will stop. Again I repeat, when both object reaches to the same temperature, the transfer of heat will stop. For example, if you have two object A and object B. If the both object has the same temperature, 25 degree and Celsius. For example, both object have a same temperature, 25 degree and Celsius. At that time, the heat cannot transfer to the each other because its temperature is equilibrium. Right? If the both object temperature is suppose 25 degree and Celsius, the heat cannot transfer to each other. At that time, its temperature is equilibrium. Right? So there are the mainly three types of transfer of heat. Let us see one by one. There are the three methods of transfer of heat. The first one is conduction method, second one is convection method, and third one is the radiation method. So generally in solid they required the conduction method. So in solid state the heat transferred to the conduction method. But liquid and gaseous form, the heat transfer through the convection method. At last, the radiation method, they do not require any medium. If medium is present or not, but heat transfer through the radiation method. Got it? Now let us discuss in detail. First, conduction method. Right? We just discussed that heat transfer to solid through the conduction method. Right? And the conduction means heat transfer from one object to another object, and both objects are with the direct contact. So you can clearly to see here the heat transfer to one object and to other object. Here the candle is one object and the metal rod is the other object. So heat transfer to the one object to another object, and both objects are directly with the contact. Right? And the another definition for the conduction is the process by which heat is transferred from hotter end to colder end of an object is known as conduction. Again I repeat, the process by which heat is transferred from hotter end to colder end is known as conduction. Right? Now here one activity is given to you. So activity 4, that how to heat transfer to the solid object. Let us see how to heat transfer to the solid object. So students, I will show you one video related to activity 4.6.
How does heat flow from one point to other? Heat flows from a hotter object to a colder object. Let us investigate this through an activity. We have taken a metal rod clamped to a stand. Few small wax pieces are fixed on the rod at equal distances. Heat the free end of the rod and observe. We can see that the wax piece near the free end of the rod melts and falls on the table. This means that the heat is transferred to the wax piece. Later, other wax pieces also melt. Heat is transferred from the end nearest to the flame to the other end. The process by which heat is transferred from the hotter end to the colder end of an object is known as conduction. Do all substances conduct heat easily? Repeat the activity with plastic and observe. We can see that the heat is not transferred easily and the wax pieces doesn't melt.
So in experiment, we observe that if the heat transferred to the metal rod, the wax pieces start melting. So if the heat is transferred to the metal rod, the wax pieces start melting. And the wax pieces close to the hotter end of the rod falls first, and then after the second nearest where wax pieces falls, and so on. Right? So here we conclude that the heat transferred to the hotter object to colder object. So heat transferred to the hotter end to colder end. Right? Now students, next we have that is conductors and insulators. So in experiment take two materials. The first take the metallic rod and second take the plastic rod. So in metallic rod, heat transfer easily and the wax pieces melts. But if we take the plastic rod, the heat cannot transfer and the wax pieces doesn't melt. Why? Because the metal is the good conductor of heat, whereas the plastic is the poor conductor of heat. Now let us discuss. So the first we have that is conductors. What is conductor? What is the definition of conductors? The materials which allows heat to pass through them easily is known as conductors. For an example, the metallic materials such as aluminium, iron, copper. Right? So these are the good conductor of heat. Now what is insulator? The insulator, it means the material which do not allow heat to pass through them easily, that is the poor conductor of heat, such as plastic, wood, that are the poor conductor of heat, which is known as insulator. Again I repeat, the material which allows pass the heat through them is called conductors, and the material which do not allow pass the heat through them is known as insulator. So in experiment, the metallic rod is the conductors, whereas the plastic rod is insulators. Right? Now let us learn with example conductors and insulators. For an example, iron. So here given iron, that you must observe at your home, the handle of iron is mostly not, but handle of iron is made up of plastic. Why? Because plastic is an insulator which do not allow the heat transfer to them. But what happens when the handle of iron is made up of metallic material? So if the handle of iron made up of metallic material, the heat transfer easily to the entire body of iron. But when you touch the iron, you may burn. That's why always the handle of iron is made up of plastic, because plastic is the poor conductor of heat and they do not allow pass the heat through them. That's why always the handle of iron is made up of plastic. Now the second example is frying pan. Right? So the handle of frying pan is always made up of plastic or wooden. Here given to wooden. The handle of frying pan is always made up of plastic or wooden, because the plastic and wooden both are the insulator. It means it cannot transfer through them. It is the poor conductor of heat. But the body of frying pan is made up of metallic materials such as aluminium and steel, and the heat transfer in that easy. Right? So that's why always the handle of frying pan is made up of plastic. Got it? So these are the example of conductors and insulators. Now again I repeat definition: conductors and insulator. So the material which allow the heat pass through them is known as conductors, and the material which do not allow the heat pass through them is known as insulators. The example of conductors is aluminium, copper, steel, etc. And the example of insulator is plastic, wooden. Right? Now students, I hope you understand about conductors and insulators. Now let us discuss our second method is convection. But students, our session is over here. Now in next session we will discuss about convection method and radiation method. Thank you. Have a nice day.